Hey there, Elizabeth here, and before we get into today's episode, I thought I would just make sure you knew about my free workshop. It's called The 3 Secrets to Integrating the Arts with SEL. And if you're interested in creating some calm, dissolving those distractions, and promoting positivity in your classroom, this is definitely a workshop you want to check out. You can go to theinspiredclassroom.com/workshop and register for free right there. I hope to see you inside. Welcome back to the Inspired Classrooms podcast. I'm Elizabeth Peterson, and we're talking about 3 of the key benefits to bringing the arts into your classroom. Last time we talked about how the arts can build community. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that, go ahead back to that. I'll put a link to it in the show notes so that you can reference it. Right now, we're going to talk about how the arts help with self-awareness. Now, what is self-awareness? Well, yes, it's being aware of you and how you feel. It's about being able to identify emotions that you have and having an accurate self-perception. That's an important thing for students to be able to do, and adults too. So being able to give students opportunities to do something like that is really important in the classroom. In our safe learning environments, right? Because what this does when students are more self-aware is it builds their confidence. It gives them the opportunity to just have more optimism for themselves, and it just builds them up. So how can we do this? We can help our students to find these times where they can have mindful, quiet times to reflect on themselves. Now, again, you've maybe heard me say this before if you've been listening to me for any amount of time, and you will hear me say it again and again. This is not therapy. I'm not talking about having a therapy session inside your classroom. That is not it at all. But what we can do in our classroom is allow students to have the opportunity for some of these mindful moments when they need it and when it's appropriate inside of our content areas. So let's talk about a couple of ideas. For example, we know our students have so many emotions and when they come to us in our classrooms with all of these emotions, sometimes they need a moment. And what better environment for them to learn how to take a moment for themselves that's not going to be distracting to others, that's going to help them to get into the right place so that they can learn and move on and continue in our classroom or continue on their school day. So one idea is to allow them a moment to pause, right? We talked about in another episode how important it is to pause. Give them a moment to do some doodling, because sometimes drawing something very simple, some repetitive patterns, can really help quiet the mind and actually help them with self-management. And if you give them that moment to be self-aware, then they can carry on with the classroom when they're done, when they feel a little bit better. And what's great about just showing them how and giving them time to do something as simple as drawing some repetitive patterns, it's something that they can do while they're still sitting in their own spot, right? They can kind of create this imaginary bubble around themselves. They can doodle on the outside of a worksheet or in the margins of their notebook. And it's not hurting anyone, it's not interrupting anybody, but instead it's giving them that moment to find their peace and quiet. So wouldn't it be a wonderful gift to give to your student, to give them that opportunity, tell them about that, and give them that chance to do that? Because if they're self-aware enough to understand that they need that, That's a huge step. And then you can give them this simple tool of social, emotional, artistic learning, SEAL. Give them this simple tool that they can use, and then they can understand how it may help them. And then they can use it in different areas of their lives as well. All right, let's talk about writing, right? Writing and journaling is such a great self-awareness activity, and it can be used in the classroom very simply. For example, if you have a new group of students, or you have a moment where you need to, kind of reacquaint students with each other, you can give them the opportunity to create poems or even monologues to kind of introduce themselves to the class. I always love 6-word stories, or I would call them 6-word introductions, where students are allowed exactly 6 words to introduce themselves to their classmates, or maybe reintroduce themselves. This is also a great thing to do with character studies. This wouldn't be self-awareness, but this would be some social awareness, right? When they're writing their poems or they're writing their monologues, it's a powerful way for them to explore their own interests, their strengths, and their emotions while they're sharing a little bit of themselves to their classmates. And it's also a great way that you can tie it into your curriculum. There are ways to kind of tie this into your curriculum, especially if you teach writing. Now, finally, let's talk about movement. Now, in SEAL, all of these strategies that I'm telling you about, these are all part of SEAL. They're embedded in social, emotional, artistic learning. And if you want to learn more about what SEAL is, I'll put a link in the show notes for you to kind of follow and see what kind of resources you can find and information you can get about SEAL. Movement is definitely a big SEAL embedded strategy. Because it's so important for students to understand what their bodies need. And movement helps with body regulation, helping students to connect to their body and their mind and their emotion so that they can really reach their learning potential. It gives them an opportunity to just kind of quiet themselves, stretch out their bodies, kind of get their wigglies out. And I'm talking all ages too. For older kids, even just the act of giving them an opportunity to stand up and walk across the room, maybe talk to other people, and just giving them that explicit teaching of why this type of thing is so important is very beneficial to students, for them to really understand why movement and connecting with your body actually helps you to be ready for learning. That's what this really all is about. That's what SEAL really is all about. Getting teachers to get to a place where they can help their students get to a place where their students can learn. And when you can utilize the arts and creativity to help students become more self-aware, and then if they need to, bring their emotion to a different spot so that they are able to learn, then we are really helping our students. Again, this isn't about therapy. It's about getting students to a place where they're open and ready to learn. All right. Now, next episode, we are going to talk about how the arts can provide for some deep learning of content. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already so that you can get notified when that comes out, and take a listen to that as well. All right, if you have any ideas or thoughts, be sure to DM me. You can find me over on Instagram and Facebook at The Inspired Classroom, and I would love to continue some of what we're talking about here in those DMs. All right, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will look forward to speaking to you next time. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Elizabeth Peterson. Be sure to subscribe, and I look forward to continuing this journey with you.